Hello, I am the Gentlemanly Gamer, and welcome to the Undisputed Nerds YouTube channel. You're about to watch a clip from our podcast, which we do every week, and you can find on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all of your other favourite podcast platforms. Don't forget to leave us a like and a subscribe on the YouTube channel if you haven't already, and we hope you enjoy the clip.
Right, let's get into a bit of the old tips and bits. Zane has provided me with the with the theme tune. I did not agree to this, but he did it anyway.
Bits, tips and bits. Come on, everybody, it's tips and bits. There you go.
There you go. So
You've got to warn someone before you do that.
I tried to warn you. I tried to give you a heads up on it. I tried to. We look at the week's news in tips and bits. We give our little hot takes on it, just to see what's going on in the world. I normally divide this up into segments. I will say right now, Rinzler, is that we're pretty heavy on Marvel this week. You know, not just because I knew you were coming on, but we are pretty heavy. So I think rather than you have the order, I think I'm going to literally just pick. We're going to do Marvel, then we're going to do other, then we're going to do DC this week because I've only got one bit of other and DC news. So let's full stack it with some Marvel up front. So Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So we've got a bit of a bumper news fest as far as Doctor Strange is concerned. So it has been confirmed. Somebody gave me this little tip before we came on the show, didn't he, Rinzler? It has been confirmed. It has been confirmed that Doctor Strange 2 will be coming to Disney Plus on the 22nd of June. This actually follows on from the back of the news that obviously with Top Gun Maverick coming out this week, Doctor Strange is anticipated to be knocked off the box office #1 spot. However, according to the latest figures, Sam Raimi's mind-bending domestic total for America has reached 342 million, coupling with the international totalings of 460 million. Its worldwide total is over 800 million. So there's a very good chance that it is going to be the second box office bonanza up after Spider-Man No Way Home, post-pandemic era, to reach $1 billion. Considering the Batman didn't even make a billion, that's pretty good shot. Also, the fact that the movie is kind of a bit outside of the regular wheelhouse as far as what Marvel is concerned with. It's impressive nonetheless. Your thoughts on the machine known as the MCU making another $1 billion movie?
You kind of can't act surprised because it's just the norm, I guess, for them. They just churn them out. Every film is hitting that milestone pretty much, or it feels like it is. But it does surprise me because, like you said, well, okay, yeah, is that. That's not the MCU.
No, sorry, that's not.
That doesn't exist.
No, that's Sony, isn't it? That's Sony.
Yeah, exactly. But like you say, but it's a bit more out there, so I'm surprised it's up there already. I guess I know it's only been 6 weeks ish.
No, it's been less than that. I think, isn't it? It's been
less than that.
Yeah, I think it's May, or wasn't it? It's beginning of May. It came out.
Oh wow, time really.
3.5 weeks, I think, just about.
Okay,
So
well,
nearly $1 billion in 3.5 weeks. It's not bad.
That especially then if that is the case for that film, because it is definitely out there. As far as, like you say, their normal target audience, which we discussed when we came out, like that's a hard sell for what you would consider the MCU wheelhouse of like getting bums in seats, and they've done well there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if this will make. What I personally hope it does is once executives at Disney see the profitability of them doing a horror-esque Marvel movie, it will let them explore other. Because that's the one. I think that's one of the biggest criticisms of the MCU currently is the fact that it is quite a homogenized. You have to fit this MCU blueprint because all the films have got to go in a certain way. And whilst Doctor Strange 2 definitely does fit that blueprint, it also definitely expanded out in terms of kind of like, I've never seen something like that in a Marvel movie before. That's awesome. I don't think it will apply necessarily to all like things, but I think this definitely leads into, well, Blade could be a horror movie. Like Blade doesn't need to be, you know what I mean? Like you don't need to make that kid friendly anymore.
Isn't that the one good thing from Eternals?
What you mean? His 5 seconds at the end,
Yeah,
where it's not even
yeah,
his face.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the best bit.
I really want. Wouldn't it be great if like the reason why we didn't see his appearance and we just heard his voice is because he's actually going to turn up dressed like the 70s comic book version of Blade with the massive afro and the rain jacket. That would be incredible. So yeah, I don't think we're. I tell you, the other thing about this is thinking about it as well. It's interesting that this made or is on track to make $1 billion, and Batman or the Batman didn't. And I wonder how much of that has to do with the HBO Max release situation. Because I believe, I could be wrong, write in guys if I'm wrong, but I believe that The Batman was released on HBO Max the same time as it was released at the cinema.
No, I don't know.
Or on a very slight delay, I think. But regardless, it's like, well, this really does lead into the credence of like, yeah, maybe you should commit to the cinema first and then release it on your streaming service, not that long after. Because, you know, it's not going to be that long. June 22nd is less than a month away now. So they could do it. Anyway, good news for Marvel. And hopefully this will show some expansion out into other brackets. So, interesting times ahead for us, Rinzler. Speaking of Spider-Man, and Spider-Man making $1 billion, there was an interview recently with the Sony Pictures chairman, Tom Rothman. He was talking to Deadline on a press tour, basically, for No Way Home. And the question came up about Spider-Man's next outing. And he confirmed immediately that we hope to get working on the next Spider-Man movie ASAP. The whole group, we hope, will be returning. There are movies that we would call adjacent to the Spider-Man universe that we're working on. So there's Craven that we're shooting now, and Madam Web, which will start in the spring. And then there are many Marvel characters that are standalone. But basically, he's already confirmed that Spider-Man 4 will be kicking off as soon as possible, probably with the anticipation of seeing the release date in 2023, 2024, somewhere around there. Obviously, there was a load of speculation about Tom Holland returning to the role after contract negotiations and him, blah, 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 blah. But it looks like it's going to happen. It looks like it's happening soon. Are you excited for the next Spider-Man movie? Or, you know, are you going to have to satiate your excitement with the epic incomings that are Craven and Madam Web?
No, I'm still excited for that. Although, interesting that he said we hope. So, what in like 2 words? What is that? What does that mean? Like who's still questionable?
So
that space.
Right, my guess on that is that, and it'll tie into our next piece of news. But my guess on that is because they have an agreement with Feige and Marvel for the Spider-Man franchise and how that's going to work within the MCU, because they make a boatload of money off of having Spider-Man in the MCU. And I think that Sony have finally started to wake up and realize, yeah, we're not going to get him out of the MCU anytime soon because everyone loves him being in there. Obviously, you know, they've got their fallbacks that they can fall back on. Rinzler, don't forget, they've got the Marvel legend that is Morbius, that is now a very popular franchise. You know,
I still haven't seen that. I might.
I wouldn't rush out to see it, if I'm honest with you. It's not. It's you know, it's fine. It's fine.
I sort of want to just to see what it's all about.
My recommendation to you and to anyone listening who has not seen Morbius is see it once, because Matt Smith is a tour de force in it. Like, he's incredible. Like, he's so funny in it. Like, without meaning to be funny, he's so funny. It's also kind of interesting to see like their understanding of a character, and also, I mean, Jared Leto does pour his heart and soul into it, but no,
bless him.
It's not great. It's not great. So, moving forward, in the same interview with Deadline, Tom Rothman was asked about basically the prospect of all these other kind of, you know, Kraven the Hunter, Madam Web, Spider-Woman's even been rumoured, and obviously that other Marvel legend, El Muerto, that has been confirmed is being worked on and is coming out. You know that famous
Yeah.
Yeah,
I definitely know who that is.
that famous hero, El Muerto. I'm not making it up, guys. That is a legitimate thing that has been announced. They're doing a film about El Muerto, the weird wrestling villain of Spider-Man. Because that's bank.
I do actually know who that is.
Oh, there you go. Cool. Oh, well, then they're on to a winner.
They're on to a winner, clearly.
Yeah. So yeah, they were asked basically about the fact that like it feels like the way that the Spider-Verse is being shaped up is that they have kind of different bits and pieces going on everywhere, because obviously we've got Spider-Man in the MCU, we've got Into the Spider-Verse, we've got all these other Marvel legends coming out. And anyway, Tom Rothman had an interesting thing to say. So he said, as quoted, "We have our Marvel business, which breaks into 3 trenches. There are the Spider-Man movies, and we're currently working on 2 Spider-Verse sequels to our Oscar-winning animated movie. And we hope to get working on the next Spider-Man movie," which is what he said there. He's also makes mention of Craven, Madam Web, etc. Why it's interesting is that trenches, it's an interesting choice of words, is it typically used in the business world to describe a security that can be split up into smaller pieces and sold to investors. So perhaps the business-orientated approach to the Marvel Universe is why Sony appears to be struggling in live action without the MCU. So I don't know whether they're looking to sell any part of it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised based on the fact that like Marvel's such a proven entity with Spider-Man that like they basically could take it and just be like, yeah, we'll use that and make loads of money off it, thanks. You could just go and do whatever you want with it, but you're clearly not going to make any money off of it. Morbius was a flop, just for the record. It was not, unfortunately, it did not make bank. I personally, with the exception of Venom 3, which has been confirmed to be coming out, I can't really see them making a lot of money off of Craven, Madam Web, El Muerto, or Spider-Woman possibly. But what are your thoughts on this, Rinzler? I mean, Into the Spider-Verse is excellent, like, and was really, really good. And I think they accidentally struck gold with that. But do you see them limping on with the Spider-Verse, or does it really make enough money now to justify without the MCU?
Well, I mean, it doesn't feel like they're going to stop, because they obviously did Morbius. Although it flopped, they can then just cover their bank with however much money they made from Spider-Man, so they can keep throwing stuff out and seeing if anything sticks. Like, who knows? One of those lovely legends might actually strike a chord with an audience and make loads of money. I mean, I doubt it, but
yeah,
it might.
I think the only thing that might, depending on how they release, I think they were hoping Morbius would, to be honest with you, but I think Spider-Woman is a very strong. There's a very strong chance, depending on who they cast and how it works. There is a very strong chance that Spider-Woman could be the thing that they're looking for, because they need a central figure to build the thing around. You know, it's like the MCU didn't grow from, you know, nothing. It had your lover, Robert Downey Jr., as like the central point that everything else folded around. And they don't have that currently, because they never used Tom Holland's Spider-Man, which seems weird to me. Like, it's just the weirdest thing ever, is that they've set up this like strange extra universe where Spider-Man doesn't really exist, but they have access to Spider-Man. Like, nothing's saying to that. Like, as far as I was aware, the deal with the MCU was that the MCU could use Spider-Man in their films. I don't think it like works both ways, where they say, okay, but you can't use Spider-Man in any other films. Clearly not, because they use Vulture in Morbius. Spoilers.
Yeah, well, I've not seen Morbius, so the only thing I've seen is the trailer where there's a poster of Spider-Man with Murderer after the second one, Far From Home. So there's.
I'll give you a spoiler as well. Never referenced in the movie.
Is that scene not even
in the movie?
Scene?
Not even in the movie. No.
Just to get bums on seats. Right. Okay. Fine. Then mind boggles. Then because I'm not aware of them saying, well, we'll use it, but you can't. So why do all of that?
Yeah, it's bizarre. I don't know why. Also, as well, like, even if it's a case of like, oh, you can't use the Tom Holland Spider-Man. Fine. You've got two other Spider-Men now that you've established. Spoilers, guys, by the way. But yeah, for No Way Home, like, everyone wants to see Andrew Garfield back. Like, everyone wants to see an Amazing Spider-Man 3. Like, there's not been anyone I've spoken to who is interested in this kind of stuff, who watched No Way Home and didn't go, oh, I'd love to see Amazing Spider-Man 3 now. Like, done with that Spider-Man, that would be great. Like, that would be really good. And it's like, I thought that the whole point, again, this is spoilers for Morbius, so sorry about this, but like, I thought the whole point at the end of Morbius, without giving you too much detail, was to set up for a Sinister Six for like an Amazing Spider-Man 3. But they're not using him! Like, why don't you bloody use him? Honestly, Sony, get your act together. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe maybe the reason why they've split it off into these separate entities is because they're doing a cost comparison thing to see, okay, maybe if it doesn't work out, then we look at selling some of these characters back to Marvel, because we're not going to make any money off of them, like El Muerto.
Marvel go, no, we're all right. We've got enough. Yeah, we don't need that back.
What are you talking about? They need characters now that they've just lost the Eternals.
Yep.
I was surprised Shang-Chi didn't make $1 billion. Actually, I think it got close to 900 million, but it didn't just. But I think it's always the same with it.
Close to Disney Plus sort of territory as well, didn't it? That came out on Disney Plus.
I think you might be right.
After cinema as well.
Yes, I think you might be right. Okay, well, moving on from Sony, but sticking with Marvel. So, Rinzler, I'm going to ask you a very straightforward question. Have you seen the She-Hulk trailer?
Yes.
What did you think of the She-Hulk trailer?
Yes, I've seen it. Not fast. Like, it's not one that I was like, I can't wait for that.
Well,
I didn't. I think I might be in a minority though. I didn't think the CG was that bad.
Interesting you say that.
Apart from in the shot where she's carrying the guy, looks really clunky.
Well, interesting you say that, because fans couldn't help but notice what looked like unfinished or poor visual effects on the titular hero. And there's been a lot of comments about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like Disney Plus. Oh, sorry, looks like Disney have actually updated the trailer and recently updated the trailer and uploaded it to Disney Plus with improved visuals.
Sonic.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, they've done a Sonic. Yeah, she doesn't look like a freak anymore.
Teeth.
Exactly. So yeah, there's more texture, less of an uncanny valley effect, was what someone commented. But yeah, it looks interesting. What are your thoughts on the kind of reaction to fan fervor at the CGI not being great, a la Sonic?
Well, for Sonic, it worked amazing. So, but I also don't feel that fans can necessarily, we can like dictate how something should look. It's someone's vision, etc. But at the same time, if that's going to be the feedback you get, you would be silly not to do something about it. So if you've got it in your wheelhouse, if you can spend probably millions to redo some CG shots, then why would you not?
I mean, it did look super janky, didn't it? Though, I mean, come on.
Well, the green was off. Definitely, the green was very flat. So if it's updated textures and stuff, then I don't know if that's on like skin texture type things you're talking about, or face, like say Uncanny Valley. Face. Give her a new face. Face off.
Off.
It's an interesting trend. It seems to have happened quite a few times as of late, unless you're Spider-Man with the mustache, and then you just keep it in forever. And
there you go. Exactly.
That's the difference.
It's an interesting. They've updated kind of like. I mean, it's looking at the pictures themselves. There's a lot more detail in terms of kind of like contrast and scale on the face. So like it looks a lot more, in depth, and the eyes look a lot better than they did previously. But it's not. I mean, it's not amazing. Like I don't know that I can't get a read on She-Hulk. That trailer did not inspire me a lot. Certainly, it's not lit my world on fire like say Loki did. Like when I saw the trailer for Loki, and I was like, yes, I need this in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, it's interesting what if they've got that and they've either they've reacted from it or they've rushed the trailer out to get it out there and then to see reaction and then go for it's interesting, like where was the pressure to release unfinished footage in a trailer?
Well, it comes out.
It has to be reaction from.
I know.
Reaction.
It's weird because it doesn't come out until August.
Yeah.
Like August 20-something, 23rd, I think it was. Yeah, it doesn't come out until then. So yeah, I don't know why the hell they decided to put this out, because obviously Miss Marvel's like well before then. And whilst, you know, I don't like the fact that they've taken away Miss Marvel's big hands powers. Miss Marvel looked really good. It does seem to be pretty awesome. So yeah, I don't. It feels there's been a lot of reports coming out of kind of background, like you know, people who worked on She-Hulk, that it's a mess. Apparently, like it's a big mess. Like they don't know what's going on with it, and there's a lot of issues with it. So I don't know. Maybe they're just kind of like trying to spool up enthusiasm for it because they're not anticipating it going down very well. But I don't think this trailer was the right way to do it. Let's put it that way.
I didn't realize it had the sub. Is it Attorney at Law?
Yes.
And did you ever watch Birdman, Attorney at Law? Have you heard of that?
I've seen. Wait, Birdman, the film Birdman?
No, not Harvey Birdman, Attorney.
Oh, Harvey Birdman. Yes, I have
Harvey
seen that.
Yeah.
Yes.
All I can just
Brilliant.
every time I see that, I know. Did you get that thing I sent you? I can't not see that show. So if it's not a comedy about Hanna-Barbera cartoons, then I'm going to be upset.
I keep seeing, I don't know what this says about my targeting on my, you know, personal ads on Instagram, but I keep seeing pictures of the porn parody of She-Hulk coming up on with China, and I'm like, oh, there you go, okay, that's not the She-Hulk I want to see. Thank you, it's all good. I appreciate it, but no. Right, moving on quickly from that. So, spoilers alert for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, guys. If you haven't seen it yet, then please pause the podcast or skip forward a little bit, because in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, we obviously had Reed Richards finally showing up. John Krasinski was Reed Richards. He was Mr. Fantastic. Still being called a variant Mr. Fantastic. I hope that is not the case, and I hope he is going to be Mr. Fantastic in the Fantastic Four reboot. However, what we don't know is who the other cast might be. Now, there's been a lot of speculation, obviously, about Emily Blunt because it's his wife, and it would be great if the two of them together, blah, 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 blah. However, there's also been a lot of fan casting going around. Would you like to guess who the current fan casting is for the Invisible Woman, Sue Storm?
Jessica Alba.
I said fan casting, not your boner casting from films that have already been out. I could just tell you.
Now I can all think of Jessica Alba. So
yeah, this is gonna surprise you because it surprised me because she was asked about it recently on the Jurassic World press tour, and that is Bryce Dallas Howard is in the runnings. So she was asked. Basically, she was asked about it because one of the fans who was on the press tour gave her a Sue Storm Funko Pop to sign, and was like, "Are you Sue Storm? Are you Sue Storm?" And she responded by saying, "I don't think it's happening. I mean, I know it doesn't involve me or anything. I swear to God. Yeah, for real. Total rumors. But you know, yeah, thank you. But I'll sign the Funko for you just for fun."
Interesting.
Yeah, it was a very weird reaction to it, to be honest with you. It's kind of, it wasn't like a straight out, oh, that's not going to be me. It was more like I don't know anything. I really don't know anything. Very similar. I mean, like some people would say, it was very similar to an Andrew Garfield. Stop asking me this. I don't know anything about it. When everyone knew he was going to be in it. So, what are your thoughts on Bryce Dallas Howard possibly being Sue Storm?
I'm not against it because I think she's great, but is she not going to be busy with like all the Star Wars stuff she's directing?
Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? Because obviously she was a director on Mandalorian, and I think I don't know if she's directed anything of Obi Wan though.
No, but isn't she doing Ahsoka? Is she involved in Ahsoka?
Oh, is she? I didn't know she was doing that.
I think so.
Oh, possibly.
So,
Possibly.
I mean, fair play if you can be in a Marvel film and direct some Star Wars TV at the same time.
I
I
mean,
don't know where you get the time for that, but yeah.
the other thing to point out as well is that there is very heavy rumors that Feige is apparently taking over Star Wars.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if you see some actor crossover as far as that is concerned, if he does.
Although, to be fair, all you'd have to do is step in the void and, change the background and, now I'm doing Marvel, now I'm doing Star Wars.
Yeah, yeah.
It's that easy.
It's true.
No, I don't have any issues with that. Be interesting. Certainly wouldn't have gone there as that was my first guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't have either.
But...
I'm surprised. It's a shame because I still think Emily Blunt would have been we talked about it in one of our episodes previously about about castings that almost happened in the MCU, and obviously Emily Blunt was Black Widow and then had to leave because of commitments to other things. And I still think Emily Blunt would have been. I like Scarlett Johansson a lot, but I think looks wise and attitude wise, I think Emily Blunt would have been better as Black Widow than Johansson was. But it's interesting. I don't know. There is a part of me would like to see the chemistry between Krasinski and Emily Blunt on screen in Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
But
where they can actually talk to each other.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, as opposed to just, quiet places, I'm going to scream and get murdered. Spoilers. So anyway, so there we go. So moving on. So we're away from the Marvel universe and we're now into the old miscellaneous universe. So we're going to be talking a bit about Star Wars. So Obi Wan, it is out tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. We've been waiting for it for a while. Check out our episode 1 preview that we did last week, where we reviewed episode 1 again, 20 years after the fact. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. But Entertainment Weekly, they recently had a conversation with Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy, as well as director Deborah Chow, Joby Harold, one of the writers, and Ewan McGregor about Obi-Wan's future. It feels like, based on these discussions, that Series 2 of Obi-Wan might actually happen. So, Chow and Harold were making it clear that the show is meant to deliver a beginning, a middle, and an end as a single cohesive tale. However, classic Kennedy left the door open to future Obi-Wan stories, saying it's certainly something that we've talked about, mainly because everyone came together and had such an incredible time. Ewan had an incredible time. Hayden had an incredible time. So certainly from the point of view, everyone involved would love to see this not end, but we have to really spend our time asking the question, why would we do it? If we were to decide to do anything more with the Obi-Wan character, we'd have to really answer the question, why? This was followed up by McGregor saying, it was made as a one-off limited series, and in a way, it does do what I wanted it to do in terms of bridging the story between 3 and 4 and bringing me closer to Alec Guinness's Obi-Wan. But would I like to make another one? Yes, I would love to make another one. So, I think it's fair to say, well, from my point of view, I am extremely excited about Obi-Wan. I love Ewan McGregor.
Isn't it full title Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Sorry, I'm very excited about Obi-Wan Kenobi. Well, that's the thing we said last week. We've been calling it Kenobi for the longest time, but the whole thing is Obi-Wan. It's really annoying. But yeah, we're super excited for it. Are you excited for it, Rinzler? And would you like to see more Obi-Wan stories? Go on. You tell me your thoughts, and then I'll have a chat after.
Yes, I am very excited. How many episodes is Obi-Wan Kenobi? Is it
6?
6?
Yes.
So there's still long enough to tell a good start, middle, and end sort of thing. But she also say in some other interview about the way forward for Star Wars is not trilogies anymore and to be smaller, not necessarily TV shows, but smaller continuous stories. So
I didn't see that.
Not just trilogies. So coming away from that, and so that sounds like all sort of interweaving stories and that kind of stuff.
That's very interesting. It's almost
sort of
like
doing with Boba and what is Boba Fett / Mandalorian.
Interesting that you listed Boba Fett first in that before the Mandalorian, which basically was literally Boba Fett was the Mandalorian, just
Well, only because Boba Fett was supposed to be its own series, and then it turned into Mandalorian 2.5
Yeah.
the last 3 episodes,
Yeah.
when it got incredibly good.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like, it was as soon as Jinder had turned up in it, I was like, yes, this is awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't heard that about the moving away from trilogies things, but I think it makes a lot of sense. It's fascinating because we talked about it. When you look back on the trilogies, right? Like, think about it like this: when Episode 1 came out, we're not talking about the original. The original trilogy is it's its own thing. You know, it's its own sacred cow. It cannot be stroked. It is what it is. But when you look at the prequels, right? When Episode 1 came out, everyone hated it. Like, everyone hated it. The fervor was like, everyone was just like, George Lucas has destroyed my childhood. Like, this is the worst thing ever. Blah blah blah. And then when you put it together with the other two, the story's actually pretty good. Like, overall, like, it actually makes a lot of sense. And I think looking back on it now, the prequels aren't necessarily as hated as much as they were at the time. Whereas when you flip today, when Force Awakens came out, everyone was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Star Wars is back. Finally, Star Wars has returned to us. Yes, the sacred vessel is back. And now, after Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, everyone's like, sequel trilogy is terrible. It's the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Why did they do this? Why have they done that? So it is interesting that, like, as far as like a trilogy is concerned, yeah, they're trying to steer away from that, because when you look at that storytelling as a whole, unless you've plotted out the 3 films, yeah, it could go horribly wrong, quite badly, if you don't have that singular vision looking at it. It does lead more credence into the idea that Kevin Feige's taking over Star Wars, because that's his you know, his deal is literally just continuous stories moving forward.
He's quite good at that. He's
all right at
got
it.
a good track record.
Yeah, he's
It's
all right.
interesting you say that. I don't know if it was a Twitter post or a response to that article, but I saw something that said something like the original trilogies were so hated on by the older generation at that time, because obviously you've got the lovers of the first trilogy, rightly so, and then it's ruined. But then the younger generation that actually did like it, because they are now of age where now they're the louder voices sort of thing,
Exactly.
talking about it. And like you said, then looking at the other thing, the 7, 8 and 9, and being like, wow, this is not so good. And then people that enjoyed 4, 5, 6 were like, oh, 7's all right. And then yeah, the rest
I don't think anyone will be looking back in 20 years going 7, 8, and 9 were amazing though. As much
definitely not. But 7 was all right.
7's all right. You know what? You and I have spoken about this before. I actually quite like 8. Like, I've got no issues with 8. 9
on second watch. First watch, not so much.
I agree with you.
On second watch, I was like, oh, it's not. However long it had been, 2 years. I think I only ever watched it once at the cinema.
Yes, it must have been, because you and I watched it together, didn't we, when we did the marathon?
Yeah, exactly. And whether that was we were in Star Wars buzz mode and really excited for the 9 or whatever, but yeah, it wasn't as bad as I remember.
The thing is, 9 had some cute ideas. Babu Frink was hilarious, and like, yeah, I wonder how much 9 was affected by Carrie Fisher dying. Like, I wonder how much more she was actually supposed to be in it, because when you look at the sequel trilogies, it's obvious that they tried to do one character per like, you know, Harrison Ford, then Mark Hamill, then Carrie Fisher. The thing that the only 2 things I didn't like about Last Jedi, no, that's not true. Didn't like the things that about Last Jedi that bothered me were the fact that, like, it felt like they didn't really understand Luke Skywalker as a character, like, at all, and he just seemed to be like this. He would not have been a hermit old man like Ben Kenobi. Not necessarily. I'm not saying Ben Kenobi is a hermit old man. I'm just saying, like, he had a very, like, you know, serious purpose for being a hermit in Tatooine, whereas, like, Luke Skywalker just ran away. It's like, that's not a good, like, that's a terrible reason when this guy's supposed to be the savior of the galaxy. You know what I mean? And then, but on the flip side of that, I really liked at the end of Last Jedi when it was like anyone could be a Jedi again. You know, it's not just this dynasty of Skywalkers that or Palpatines that have to be, you know, Jedis or whatever. But obviously then they didn't do that, and they just went back to fan service in 9. So there's good bits and bad bits about all of it, isn't there? But
I guess that's where fan service and heeding to the pressure. Like there was maybe a plan for 8 into 9 that obviously got torn to shreds and changed. Coming back to what you're saying about maybe they had planned out that story arc, and then where they went with 8 got such a negative feedback. It's a business at the end of the day, probably, and they went, okay, no, we need to go back to fan servicey and get some more money back.
Yeah, possibly. Possibly. I think at the end of 8, I think was supposed to set up for Rian Johnson's trilogy, wasn't it? Which is now indefinitely on hold.
Now canned. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, I don't know. Interesting times afoot, though. It is interesting when we live in a time when Star Wars TV is better than Star Wars film, and it definitely seems that way. And I'm super hyped for Ahsoka, and I'm super hyped for Obi Wan Kenobi.
Isn't Taika doing is that still on the cards?
Taika Waititi doing a film.
Star Wars.
I think there's a load of the way I approach Star Wars at the moment is take everything with a pinch of salt until we see a confirmation of either a press release or a trailer saying this is coming. Because it's the Obi Wan thing was rumored for 7 years before they actually got round to it. Yes. But they were also supposed to be doing a Rian Johnson trilogy, which is now canned. They were also supposed to be doing what's their names? Benioff and Wisden from Game of Thrones. They were supposed to be doing a film with them. That's now canned. So nothing is confirmed until it's confirmed for me. Mm-hmm. So that was the miscellaneous news. Now, DC news. Rinzler, you're here. I couldn't miss this opportunity for you to be here and me to not bring it up. And wouldn't you know it, this week...
Better not me.
This week, who would have thought this week when you'd be on the show that David Ayer would start talking up? Apparently, David Ayer, the director of the award-winning Suicide Squad, he has actually revealed this week, after publicly stating that he'd never talk about the Ayer Cut again, he's then this week revealed what it would take to finish his Ayer Cut of the Suicide Squad.
That no one wants. Surely no one wants.
He's revealed on Twitter with a string of tweets. He's literally said, no need for reshoots, just some visual effects work. It's shockingly different, apples and oranges, and I can't wait for people to see it. Obviously, there's not a lot of motivation to see the Ayer Cut. Snyderverse went quite well. The Zack Snyder's Justice League was received well, and it did quite well as far as HBO Max is concerned. But I almost don't need to ask you this because obviously I know that you definitely want to see it. But what are your thoughts on David Ayer talking about his Ayer Cut of the Academy Award-winning Suicide Squad?
No.
I
can't believe of all the weeks.
I know, I saw it and I was like, this is so perfect. For those of you, I won't do the full story on here, but there is a story I have told on this channel many times about somebody who was extremely excited about Suicide Squad, who was bitterly disappointed when it actually came out. That would be Rinzler, who is on the chat right now. So go back and try and have a listen to that story. But yeah, you excited for this one, Nate?
And I'm never allowed to live it down because it won an Oscar as well, above Pan's Labyrinth for makeup.
Star Trek Beyond.
Was it?
Yeah, it was against Star Trek Beyond as well.
Oh yes, no, it was that.
With that amazing alien effects and stuff. And it won for Margot Robbie putting some face paint on.
And oh no, it was just not good. Full stop. I don't think you can save that film in any shape or form at all. The Snyder Cut, I've watched that twice since, and I love that. That is brilliant. Doesn't feel like 4 hours. It just is such a great watch.
Are you sure that David Ayer is not going to change your mind? I'm just, just saying.
The thing is, I'm gonna have to watch it. Oh no, we're gonna have to watch it at some point. It's gonna if it is a thing. I have zero interest in it, but if it does come out, I'm still gonna watch it.
I will say,
ridiculous because then I'm just fueling the fire.
Oh, absolutely. It's no. I will say, I think the chances of this getting released are less than 1%. I don't see this being, Suicide Squad was. I think Warner Brothers learned its lesson in the lesson of diminishing returns, which is really disappointing because The Suicide Squad, directed by James Gunn, was fantastic, and Peacemaker is fantastic, and
I forgot about that. I was
there you go,
watching that.
There you go. It's great. They're both really good. Like somebody was Zane actually last week was talking about the idea of what if James Gunn takes over the creative direction for DC, and I was like, I would absolutely love that. Like, I think that would be fantastic. I don't see it happening because the Suicide Squad didn't make money, and unfortunately, as you said earlier on, it's a business and they only look at profits. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, but. Yeah, I just thought that was just a lovely special little nugget of DC news that was perfect.
I'm picturing your face when you saw that.
Oh God,
I know how gleeful it would have been.
I have never been so excited to see that. I was like, yes, perfect week for this to happen. It's fantastic. So anyway, that's all the tips and bits we have for this week, guys. So did I miss anything? I'm sure I did. Was there anything that you wanted us to talk about? Write in, let us know. All the usual addresses.